I'm Darcy Vogt Williams, and I teach at Stiles Middle School in Leander, Texas. This is my 17th year of teaching, and what a year it's turning out to be. Our program at Stiles is fairly large, hovering around 400 kids in the band, but only 103 are coming to in-person learning, and the other 300 students rely on a completely virtual band experience. Finding success can be very difficult when the markers for success look completely different this year. When we don't have contests to win, how do we know we're doing a good job? When we don't have a normal concert to give, how do we know if our bands are good? And for any of us teaching beginners, that success is even harder to recognize. Between Zooms crashing and poor microphones and seeing our kids only every other day, that slower progress magnifies all of the hurdles that we have to overcome. But despite those frustrations, we have found some bright spots. By the time you see this, I'm sure that every single one of you will have already discovered the wonders of Flipgrid. But that was curriculum changing for us. Simply looking for ways to check for understanding with our beginners, we assigned a number of Flipgrids covering just basic concepts like counting lines of their rhythm charts. And while these are short assignments, we would never typically devote that much class time to hearing every single kid count that much. But with these Flipgrids, out of sheer necessity, we actually have a better picture of every beginner's level of understanding than we've ever had before. And most of them are at home. We actually will keep those recorded assignments even when band looks normal again because of the level of accountability it's given the students and the clarity it gives to us as teachers for what we need to reteach. One of our favorite Flipgrid assignments was a beginner counting concert. So even on a year like this, it's important for our kids to learn how to perform. And normally the kids are learning how to play in front of each other a little bit at a time, starting on really easy skills. But for some of our kids, they're not ever going to step foot in our band hall this year. So for those kids, involving the parents becomes even more important. So a week before our beginner counting concert Flipgrid was due, we emailed our parents explaining how important it is for the kids to learn how to do stuff with an audience. The assignment was easy. Count one line of their rhythm charts for their parents with an audible metronome and the camera far enough away that we could see their posture and their foot tap, just like a normal audience would. And regardless of what happened, we asked the parents to clap and cheer for their kid at the end. This was priceless, guys. Like watching the kids get a little nervous in front of their parents was absolutely adorable. Listening to their parents cheer and clap for their child was heartwarming, and seeing the kids glow in their success or laughingly apologize for a mishap gave us a window into their family structure that we would never necessarily have. We also learned a lot about some of the kids that turned in their Flipgrid without family participation, despite the fact that they knew what the assignment was and we had emailed the parents a week before. We got to see connections that generally aren't visible, and also which of our parents are totally on board with band. Plus, my 2-year-old loved binge watching these videos, for real. There will never be a year that we don't utilize Flipgrid with our band program ever again. We've also had a lot of luck incorporating method books into our full bands. We've definitely done unison work with our bands before, but we were forced to rely on unison playing for the bulk of our curriculum this year because our district opened up with 100% of our kids online. I think a lot of us overestimate the individual skills and understanding that our kids come to our performing bands with. And in all 3 of our bands, we found gaps working through these method books. Our 3rd band actually went all the way back to the beginning of Essential Elements Book 1. Our 2nd band halfway through Book 1, and then my top band halfway through Book 2. All of us found concepts and skills that needed to be retaught to our students. And because it was full band work, every kid got to focus on the same skills regardless of our instrument. So our tuba kids got to work on the same level as our flutes. And that kind of instruction has helped every single kid to grow in a way that perhaps they wouldn't on an ordinary year, especially in our 2nd and 3rd bands. And it gave them a chance to really build some confidence in the process. All of that being said, I think the best thing we have done as directors this year has been to temper our own expectations for ourselves, our students, our bands, and our program as a whole. We're not going to reach the same level of achievement that we do on a normal year, and that's okay. This isn't a normal year. For us, 3/4 of our kids cannot be heard 99% of the time, and requiring last year's excellence in this year's reality only ensures a level of stress that does not retain kids long enough to reteach them when we see them face to face. Obviously all of our situations are different, and that's why it becomes even more important for us to be really honest with ourselves about what's doable in our own band hall. Even between schools in the same district, attendance doesn't look the same. Participation doesn't look the same. Parental support doesn't look the same. Retain so that we can reteach later. Find ways for your students to love showing up to class, even if it's just to play trivia games, so that one of these days we can more seriously teach them varying styles of articulation when you aren't battling internet speeds in the process. At the end of the day, everything we do right now through our current dystopia of education will determine who we get to teach next year when we can find that sense of normalcy. And in the meantime, we have to find a balance for our own sanity so that we can continue to love a job that looks nothing like we were hired to do. Good luck this year. And in everything you do, highlight those small victories because even the small ones are real.